Hey everyone, Minky here with the next deck profile. I've just done recording a deck profile only to later realise just at the end that it was the wrong deck. So I'm gonna upload that still as that deck, but I'm gonna save it for later dates, and I know it can go up later. So and also that my effort isn't wasted either on it. So I don't have to worry about it later. Especially given what kind of deck it is, which you may be able to tell when it goes up, but we'll see, I guess. So before I do go over this deck, this second Armityle deck, this actual Armityle deck, I just want to go over the fact that I have improved some of my stuff. For example, obviously the deck I've just went over, that's all sleeved at the moment, and also is in the tin now, along with the other two decks, well, two other decks that also apply to it. But this deck isn't at the moment because I don't have the sleeves for it yet. Well, at least I haven't sorted it out yet. Plus, I figured I might as well keep this consistent with at least these Armityle decks and replica decks. But then, as soon as I've done those, not the replica decks, sorry, the restriction decks. But as soon as I've done the 7 original planned ones, those being these 3 Armityle decks and there's 4 restriction decks, sorry. Once I've done these 7, I'll then move on to doing sleeved ones, or hopefully sleeving up all my cards so I can probably take care of them better. So, there's that. So, just be aware of all that kind of stuff. So, as we tackle on these videos. Alright, so the first, let's take on this deck then. So, the first, obviously, let's start off with the boss monster, that being Hammond, Lord of Striking Thunder. This card is obviously, like as kind of hinted towards before. This is obviously one of 3 Armityle decks. I've only got the 1 copy of each 3 not the Egyptian gods, the Sacred Beast at the moment to really put into these decks. So obviously in this case, I've also got just the 1 copy. So there's that. Start things off with. Next up, I should also go over the effect actually, to be fair. So obviously it requires 3 continuous spell cards as tributes. He's got an attack effect and a defense effect technically. Those being, if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. And while in defense mode, in face-up defense mode, monsters your opponent controls cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. So if you control 2 or 3 defense copies, then obviously that's more defense for you. I think that completely defends you as well from attacks, so that's really nice. Next up is still a boss monster technically, or part of the boss monster, is Cerulean Skyfire. To special summon Hammond, Lord of Striking Thunder using its own procedure, you can also use face down spell cards to control. So you don't have to use specifically continuous spells, they've just got to be face down. Once per turn, while you control an attack position Hammond, Lord of Striking Thunder monster, or just a face-up attack position Hammond, you can negate any spell or trap effects activated by your opponent. Then, change one Hammond you control to defense position. If a face-up Uriah, Hammond, or Raphael you control leaves the field, you take no damage this turn. So, nice little protection effects and whatnot, and also, just does a bunch of things for Hammond specifically. And then finally, the last of the 3 boss monsters, if you will, is Souls of the Forgotten. Yeah, I know this is like the most bonkers card to have as a boss monster, but you'll come to see why I've got this card in this deck, outside of nostalgia. And yes, it is nostalgia why this guy is here. He's one of my favourites, to be honest, because of how I built this deck up, to be completely honest, and, he's great, As far as I'm aware, in fact, no, I checked this a few days ago. I don't know if they've made a new one in the last couple of weeks, but last time I checked, which was not too long ago, Souls of the Forgotten is the strongest in terms of attack, level 2 Dark Fiend Gnome monster. He's the strongest in terms of attack, not in overall stats. That's you'll see that in a few minutes. But in terms of raw attack power, he is the strongest Dark level 2 Fiend type monster. So, and he's one of my favourites, so, Also to note, as well, is that this deck, I've done a deck profile on this before, but I lost that to when my I lost that before when I had technical issues, so this is take 2 technically, so... Alright, so to start off with the deck, we'll start off with the normal monsters then. It's the first one being Archfiend Soldier, just a nice, powerful level 4 fiend type monster, 1900 attack, so really nice right there, you know, it's really good attack power, so not too much to him. Next up is 2 copies of Lajin, Genie of the Mystical Genie of the Lamp. Again, pretty much like Archfiend Soldier, the only difference being that he's got 1800 attack and I think a little more defense. No, even less defense. He's got 500 less defense and 100 less attack. So, you know, but he's still pretty powerful. You know, 100 attack isn't too much. So, you know, especially since he's really quite powerful for level 4 monster. You know, so he's you know, there you go. You know, next up, now this is the other guy I was on about, is Medabat. Yeah, Medabat. Now, Medabat is the second strongest in terms of raw attack power. He's the second strongest dark level 2 fiend type monster. However, so he's got 100 less attack than Souls of the Forgotten, but he's got 200 more defense than Souls of the Forgotten has. Therefore, making him, Medabat, the strongest in terms of combined attack and defense, but the second strongest in terms of raw attack power. And again, Medabat's one of my favourites as well because of this, but because Souls of the Forgotten is slightly stronger, that's why he's the boss monster, not Medabat. Because it is mostly just for raw attack power there. And then finally, we have Opticlops. Basically just a more powerful Lashin, basically, because he's got 800 attack and 700 defense. So, you know, he does a better job than Lashin does. And he's not an anime card either, so, you know, he's you know, so Lajin at least has the appearance in the anime, but he's the weakest of the 3 level 4 normal monsters. This guy though, he's you know, he's kind of like a Hitatsumi giant, but better. Maybe I'll put that card instead, but maybe not. Probably not, because he's not as powerful. I know he's got 1200 attack. Alright, first effect monster is Dark Tinker. When this card you control is sent to the graveyard, look at the top card of your deck. Return it to either the top or the bottom of the deck. So, it's a tuner monster, it's a level 2 tuner monster, and he is more powerful than Souls of the Forgotten in both attack and defense, but he's an effect monster, so he does not have that downside to him. And you'll see why that's important later. Well, not important, but you'll see why that makes a difference later. Also, he's a tuner, as I say, so he's good for synchro summons, and that does get its effect off when you use Mystic material. So that's really nice. Next is 2 copies of Deshin Chanter of Rituals. I feel like I'm going to perform a ritual if I say that name again. When you wish to summon a ritual monster, you can banish this card from the graveyard as one of the materials. Well, not one of the materials, but you know what I mean. While the monster rich summons using this card is placed on the field, synchro monster's effects are negated. So obviously some nice lockdown and also like a double tribute for rituals as well. So, you know, it makes for a nice little benefit there. You can tribute him on the field for Raphael and then summon out a ritual monster, or you can summon 2 ritual monsters with the same monster and then have 2 monsters that negate synchro monster's effects. Next up is 1 copy of Deshin Presider of Rituals. When you ritual summon, obviously all these Deshin monsters, these kinds of Deshin monsters, have the effect to banish themselves from the graveyard as ritual material for a ritual summon. So I'm not going to say that every single time, I'm just going to say that the first time. This guy, though, does have 800 attack and 400 defense, so it's technically a better Lajin. If the monster ritual using this card destroys monster battle, the controller of the ritual draws 1 card. So obviously if you change of heart a ritual monster that uses this card as ritual material, then you get to draw the card because you're the controller of the ritual monster. So, in a nice little effect there, and obviously if you use them for 2 rituals, then you get 2 draws per turn, which is really nice. That's probably one of the more powerful ones. Next up is a really weird weak one, at level 3 though, that being Deshin Prognosticator of Rituals. I'm having a bit of trouble reading the name there. 400 attack and 300 defense for a level 3 monster. Even on its own, that's pretty bad for level 3. When the monster is summoned using this card inflicts bad damage to your opponent must select and discard one card. So this is probably the worst one, to be fair, because it gives your opponent the opportunity to activate graveyard effects, while also being only 400 attack and 300 defense, and level 3, so it doesn't even contribute as much as the other editions do. I think there's one edition that's level 1, to be fair, so he has the upper hand there, technically, but, you know, it is what it is. Something, that's for sure. Next up is Fiendish Rhino Warrior, who is a fiend, because he is called Fiendish, even though he's called Warrior, and Rhino, so maybe you think he's a rock type monster, maybe. 400 attack and 900 defense on a level 3, so that's really nice. Fiend type monster you control, except Fiendish Rhino Warrior, can restore the battle or card effects, so you can't control 2 or 3 copies of this guy and protect everyone. He only protects non-Fiendish Rhino Warrior monsters. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send one fiend type monster from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of this card. You can only use this effect once per turn. You can only use this effect of this guy once per turn. So, you know, it's not too bad. He mills, and you can Foolish Burial him for another Foolish Burial, for essentially a free Foolish Burial off of him. You know, and so it's not too bad. He's alright. Next up is a fork. Yes, an actual fork. Well, not an actual fork, a Maliciferous fork. You can send one of the fiend type monsters from your hand to the graveyard to special this card from your hand. So fortunately, I think all 3 are these guys, the fork, spoon and knife. I only have this card at the moment, otherwise I would have shown off all 3. Fortunately, I think all 3, I'm not actually sure actually. I think one of them might be archetype specific, but at least this one works on its own. Because you can Inferno X summon him, you can discard any fiend, which sets up for Solidarity if you've not got Raphael quite yet. You know, he's pretty nice. He's a pretty good card. You know, and I think he's more of a fiend support card rather than a, you know, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, he's pretty good into level 2 though, so that's pretty nice. You know, and he's pretty nifty, I would say. Alright, next up is Mask of Darkness. In a deck like this is really nice because he's a fiend type monster, so therefore you get your tribute for Raphael, and you get to select a trap card in your graveyard and add it to your hand, so you get to retrieve a trap card back, which is really nice because obviously Uriah uses traps, and if there's a non-continuous trap card then that you retrieve, then you can retrieve that trap card and it wouldn't affect his attack points outside of like a few specific instances with like support cards or whatever. But this card, you know, and also it also allows you to reuse cards as well, just in general, you know, like Call of the Hunted or whatever, stuff like that. So, really nice card. Would put in again. And finally is Fijam the Cubic Seed, which is a fiend type monster that cannot be destroyed in battle. At the end of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can place this card in your face up in your spell concerns as a continuous spell card. So obviously good for Hammond. And if you do, place 1 cubic counter on that opponent's monster. Monsters with cubic counter cannot attack or negate their effects. If this card is treated as a continuous spell card by this effect, during your main phase, you can special this card from your spell trap card zone. So obviously it kind of like negates the opponent's cards and such to a degree, and then also you contribute it for either, you know, Raphael or Hammond, so it kind of works for both as well. So that's a really nice card right there. And that's all the effect monsters. Now we have ritual monsters. The first one being Demise, King of Armageddon. I mean Demise, Ancient of Armageddon, because they're all called Demise, King of Armageddon. So this card's effect, you can ritual summon this card with Cycle of the World. This card's name becomes Demise, King of Armageddon, because like all the other cards, or in this kind of archetype, while in the hand or on the field. So he doesn't like take up more slots. You know, you can have 3 copies of this guy, 3 copies of the actual Demise King, and 3 copies of another card I'll go over in a second. If this card is ritual summoned, destroy 1 face-up monster on the field. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 ritual monster to control. While this is face-up on your field, your opponent can activate cards or effects in response to the activation of your ritual monster's effects. So I think if so what I think that means is you target a ritual monster, And as long as that specific ritual monster is on the field, none of your ritual monsters can have their effects negated. I think that's what that means. I'm pretty sure that's what it's trying to say there. So that's him. Next up is Demise, King of Armageddon. I mean, Demise, Supreme King of Armageddon. So, another nice little thing there. Obviously, again, ritual summon will tackle the world, and his name becomes Demise, King of Armageddon, while in the hand or on the field. While this ritual summoned card is on the field, your ritual monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. So that's a nice little protection effect for your rituals as well. If all monsters used to ritual summon this card were ritual monsters, you do not pay life points to activate its effects. Once per turn you can pay 2,000 life points, or 0 if it was all rituals. Destroy as many other cards in the field as possible, and if you do, inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each card destroyed by this. For each card, for each of their destroyed cards for this effect. There you go. That's his effect. And finally, for the final ritual, Armageddon, King of Armageddon. I mean, no, I only had those two unfortunately in a minute. The third one is the Masked Beast, which I think, in terms of early ritual monsters without effects, I think this is the strongest ritual there is, at least in terms of raw attack. So it's kind of like the Souls of the Forgotten, if you will. But yeah, I thought I'd include him in here because he's a fiend type, with nice attack power, really nice attack power. I might take. Whoa, my throat kind of went there. I might take him out, but I'm not too sure at the minute. But here you go, he's a pretty powerful fiend type ritual monster, so he's not too bad. And he also completes the level 10 or more for King of Armageddon, but I don't know if, because Supreme King is level 10, but I don't know if it has to be specifically level 10 or not. I don't know. Right, so the first spell card is Banner of Courage. During your battle phase only, or face a monster you control, gain 200 attack. So a really nice little boost to your monsters for Hammond right there. Next up is Breaking of the World, a King of Armageddon card and Thingamajig card, Ruin Queen of Oblivion card. Once per turn, you can target a ritual monster you control. Show one ritual monster in your hand until the end of this turn. The level of the shown ritual monster becomes the targeted monster's level until the end of this turn, even if this card leaves the field. Once per turn, if Ruined Queen of Oblivion or Demise King of Armageddon is ritual summoned to your field, except during the damage step, you can activate one of its effects. Either draw one card or destroy one card in the field. I don't think, I don't know about Ruin, but I think with Demise, I think you're gonna almost always go for that draw one because you want more cards to destroy your opponents, for his effect. So, I think you're going to go for draw. I mean, maybe Ruin will want more destruction, because maybe she doesn't have that, but I don't know, because I don't use her. And I think her side is fairy type. I know they're not fiend types, otherwise I would have included them as well. But, obviously this is for all, the Demise cards, so obviously anything about Ruin is kind of just not there, if you will. It's kind of pointless in this sort of deck, but it's a nice card. Not pointless, but you know what I mean. It's a nice little thing. I mean, if you somehow manage to get it through exchange or something, it's what it is. Next up is Burden the Mighty, 1 copy. Each face-up monster your opponent controls loses 100 attack times its own level. So, a nice little boost for yourself as well, or de-boost for your opponent. Next is Curse of the Masked Beast. This card is used to ritual summon Masked Beast. The ritual monster I had, the one that wasn't Demise. Okay, I had a weird throat a second ago, now I've got a weird nose. I almost thought I was going to sneeze. You must also turn monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equals 8 or more. So a normal ritual spell card right there, so it's just a ritual spell for the Masked Beast, nothing impressive. Next up is Dark Eruption. Target one dark monster with 1500 or less attack from your graveyard and add it to your hand. So again, you can target obviously Sources of Forgotten with this card, Medabat, Source of Forgotten. You can target anything, any low attacking monster with this card and get it back. So it's a really nice little thing there. Such as any of your weak monsters. including Source of Forgotten, so it's nice right there. Obviously, anything that can do Source of Forgotten, I'm going to say does Source of Forgotten, because Source of Forgotten is my favourite. And by the end of this video, he's no longer going to be Source of Forgotten, he's going to be Source of the Remembered. That's how much I'm going to talk about him. Next up is Dark Factory of Souls of the Forgotten. I mean, Dark Factory of Mass Production. Target 2 normal monsters, like, in your graveyard, and those targets to your hand. So any two normal monsters you get back from your graveyard to your hand. That's really nice. Next up is Double Defender. Once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, while you control 2 or more physical defense machine monsters, you can target the attacking monster and negate the attack. So really nice card right there. It protects while you have defense monsters up. Not like Source of Forgotten, because he's probably not going to be in defense mode, to be fair. So next up is It's the End of the World. This I actually kind of like the artwork on this card, because you get to see like a city in it. It's really nice. This card is just summon Ruin or Demise. So in this case, just Demise really. You must also tribute monsters from the field or your hand whose total levels equal the level of the ritual monster you are attempting to ritual summon. So you've got to actually tribute monsters. Like, if you're summoning level 4, it's got to be 4 levels. You can't tribute, say, Source of Forgotten and a Cursed Dragon, for example. You can't even just tribute a Cursed Dragon. You've got to outright tribute 4 levels. If you're trying to summon a level 10, you can't tribute 3 Source of Forgotten, and it's going to be exactly level 10 basically, or exactly whatever level you're trying to summon. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. It's not that complicated. Next up is Field Barrier. Field spells on the field cannot be destroyed. Now player can activate a new field spell card. So even if there's no field spell cards on the field, you can still activate this card and just lock out field spells from being activated while this card's in the field. But also, if you have a field spell card, you can protect it with this card. So if someone activates Heavy Storm while you have a field spell and this card in the field, this card will get destroyed, but not the field spell. But you can only control 1 field barrier, so not that there's really much point in controlling multiple, because this effect won't stack with itself even if you could activate 2 or 3 copies. But I guess it's there. Next up is a very old card. It is Heart of Clear Waters, or just the one water even. So it's a magic card, because of course it is, because it's a very old copy of a card of mine. If the equipped monster's attack is 1300 or higher, this card is automatically destroyed, so you can equip it onto your soul anyway. The monster equipped with this card is not destroyed in battle or by the effects of a card that specifically designates a target. Battle damage is calculated normally. That's how you know it's an old card, because it reminds you battle damage is still calculated normally. So, Alright, here's a nice card. Mound of the Bound Creator. I should note as well, if your Source of the Forgotten, or whatever you equip it onto, if they gain another tap point that says it's 1300 or more, then Heart of Clear Waters does destroy itself. In fact, you can even equip it onto a monster with 1300 more attack, but it'll just automatically destroy itself anyway. Well, according to that text anyway, it should be able to do that. Anyway, on to Mound of the Bound Creator. Level 10 or higher monsters on the field cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. So, obviously really nice for your Uriah, or Hammond, or whatever. Or even Armityle, I think he's level 12. That's 10 or higher, right? Yeah, it is. I don't know why I'm confirming myself. If a level 10 or higher monster destroys the monster with battle and sends it to the graveyard, the player who controlled the destroyed monster takes 1000 damage. So obviously with Hammond, that makes it 2000 damage, because he also does 1000 damage. And yeah, both got to go to the graveyard as well, so that's pretty nice. When this card is on the field is destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add a defined monster from your deck to your hand. So obviously that last effect is nothing in this effect, because there's no additional god cards in these decks, but it's still, at least the other effects are pretty nice, and obviously it'd be nice if the Sacred Beasts were defined monsters, but guess it is what it is. Alright, so this is the first card where I can actually say Source of Forgotten properly without feeling guilty about it. Pride of the Weak. When a level 2 or lower monster, like Souls of the Forgotten, you control destroys an opponent's monster by battling into the graveyard. If you have no cards in your hand, draw 2 cards. So, nice little card there, obviously for Souls of the Forgotten. Obviously, it's not going to be destroying much, but you know, as you'll see, there might be more and more as we go along. So, you know, nice little card right there. Next up is Temple of the Sun. A card that I can't talk about Souls of the Forgotten with. I technically can, but you know. Temple of the Sun, face up monster you control that was special from the graveyard to gain 300 attack. So again, a nice little buff for your monsters. You know, boost them up a little bit by so much, you know, by 300, and it's nice for like, well, it's just a nice little bonus. And it's a continuous spell for your hammer as well, so there you go. Alright, next up is a ritual spell card. It's not a ritual spell card because it's a quick play spell card, Turning of the World. This card is used to ritual summon Ruin or Demise, so just Demise, from your hand or deck. You must also tribute ritual monsters from your hand whose total level equals or exceeds the level of the ritual monster you ritual summon. You can only activate one of this card per turn. So this card says you can tribute ritual. It specifically says you have to tribute ritual monsters for the ritual material, but you don't have to equal the level of the ritual monster. You just have to equal or exceed it. So if you get like 12 levels from rituals, you can still summon a level 10 with this card, as long as all the tributes are ritual monsters, which is really nice. It's like a pick your poison kind of thing. You either have to, you know, get one that is of the specific levels, or you have to tribute rituals. You know, so you know, it's a really nice kind of thing. Next up, the last spell card is Try White. Target 3 level 2 or lower normal monsters in your graveyard, like Souls of the Forgotten, spell summon them. And it's really nice as well because it obviously boosts them up as well, you know, with Temple of the Sun. So technically, Temple of the Sun does work with Souls of the Forgotten in this deck now. So, ha. Now it's time for the traps. At Chorus. If there are monsters with the same name on the field, so either player can control them, increase attack and defense of all those monsters with the same name by 500 points. So of course, if you control 1 copies, you don't get any boost. Well, if either player controls 1 copy, you get no boost. If either player controls 2 or more in total between both of you, then both monsters gain 500. And all monsters gain 500 attack points. But that's it. It's just 500 attack points. It's not like a case of like, oh, I control 3 of the same monster, you get 1,000. No, it's just a case of you either control 0 of it or 1 of it and they don't get any boost, or you control 2 or more of it and they get 500 boost. But this card does stack with itself, so if you control 3 Aqua courses, you get obviously 1,000 or 1,500 depending on how many you control on this card. And obviously this is nice for... I don't have 3 copies of Souls of the Forgotten yet, but I do want to get 3 copies for the deck, so technically this is a Souls card. It's more sort of a meta-back card really, because I've got 3 copies of that at the moment, but not 3 Souls. But you know, it will eventually be a Souls card, so again, kind of in your face in that case. Next up is Attack of the Cornered Rat. If a level 3 or lower normal monster, it's a continuous trap card again, by the way, for Uriah of course. If a level 3 or lower normal monster you control, like Souls of the Forgotten, battles, during the damage step, you can pay life points in multiples of 100. The attack of the opponent's monster is reduced by the amount of life points you paid until the end phase. You cannot pay more life points than the attack of the opponent's monster. So obviously that's really nice for getting your Souls of the Forgotten really up, you know. Like and it does work with Pride of the Week, I think, as well, because I think, let me have a look. Because Pride of the Week, you know, let me have a look. Yeah, when it destroys a monster from battle and sends it to graveyard, you get to draw 2 cards. So that can be activated during your opponent's turn. You know, both cards, as long as you've got no cards in your hand, obviously. You know, that's really nice. Next up is Birthright, and I say Birthright, I mean 2 copies of Birthright. This is like Call the Hunter, except weaker in more ways than one. select one normal monster in your graveyard, like, and special summon it in physical attack position. So it's like Call the Hunter, but it has to be a normal monster. When this card is removed from the field, destroy that monster. When that monster is removed from the field, destroy this card. So obviously, for this card, like Call the Hunted, if that's destroyed, you lose the monster. But with Call the Hunted, if you lose the monster, you don't lose this card. Or there's only a certain specific situation in which you lose Call the Hunted as well. But with Birthright, if you lose one, you lose the other automatically regardless. I say that because Call the Hunter is actually a really nice card in some sense for an Armityle deck, because Call the Hunter, what that does is you can summon a Fiend type monster from your graveyard, tribute the Fiend for Raphael or whatever else you can tribute it, and then you can tribute Call the Hunter for Uriah. So it's basically like you're tributing 5 cards for both monsters, even though technically they both need 3 each. So it's technically a 2-in-1. Which is kind of nice. Now it's a pity I don't have Call the Hunted, but what I do have next is Crush Card Virus. Version 1, and I wrote on this card calling it version 1 because this is the version 1 version of Crush Card Virus, the original version with the original effect and whatnot. And when they changed it, they errated it, but they didn't change the artwork until much later. Well, not much later, but they changed the artwork afterwards. They didn't change it together. So I wrote version 1 on it because I wanted it to be like version 1. So obviously I don't plan on selling this card or anything, and it's not written on anything on the back, so it's not like it's not like I'm trying to cheat with it or anything. And even then, I'm gonna get sleeves anyway. So plus a little battered, so I don't think anyone's gonna really be hammering for it. But obviously, this card tribute a dark monster with a fast attack. Check all cards your opponent controls, your opponent's hand, and all cards they draw to the end of your opponent's third turn after this card activation. And destroy all monsters with 300 or more attack. So, it's just a normal Crush Card Virus, the original one. So, there's that. That's a really nice effect. Now, in this deck, I used to have a Ghost Reap monster, but I took it out because it was limited edition, I think. It had a really nice rarity on it, so I took it out to put it in the binder. So that's why this card's in here, that being a Ghost Stricken Knight. When a Ghost Stricken monster is on the field, or while a Ghost Stricken monster is on the field, your opponent cannot flip summon. It was a Fiend type monster as well, by the way, because obviously it's a Fiend deck, so obviously I knew that. I think it was called Jack Frost, I think it was that one. When this card in your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, your opponent cannot declare an attack for the rest of this turn. So obviously it still technically has use, because you can tribute it for Uriah, or you can tribute it for, or not tribute it, but you can bait your opponent into destroying it, and then, although they can't declare an attack now this turn because they've, destroyed it. But so it still has use. It's not too bad. Alright, next up is Graceful Revival. Select one level 2 or lower monster from your graveyard, and special summon an attack position. When this card is removed from the field, so this is basically Birthright again, but with level 2 or lower monsters instead of normal monsters. It's exactly like Birthright, except the only difference being a level 2 or lower monster as opposed to a normal monster. So you can bring back Dark Tinker with this if you wanted to, or you can bring back Swords of Forgotten or Medevac with this. But Swords of Forgotten and Medevac can both be brought back with Birthright as well. And then obviously all of them can be brought back with Call the Hunted, but Call the Hunted is so much better, I would say. But that doesn't mean that this doesn't have any use either. So it's really nice to that. Obviously, both cards are kind of both Graceful Revival and Birthright don't bring out. You can't bring out both. They don't they're not as good as Call the Hunted for bringing either monster out. So just be wary of that. Next up is 3 copies of Limit Reverse. Target one monster with a Phantasm less attack in your graveyard. You get the idea. Special summon an attack position. If the target is changed to defense position, destroy it and this card. When this card leaves the field, destroy the target. When the target is destroyed, destroy this card. So that's what I mean, is that because this card says when the target is destroyed, destroy this card, you can summon out your Swords of Forgotten, and then you can tribute your Swords of Forgotten for Raphael, and then this card will stay on the field because the target wasn't destroyed, it was tributed. So therefore, well, it was sent to the graveyard. Therefore, you get to keep this on the field. Well, it's not that you get to keep this on the field. You don't have a choice. You have to keep this on the field because the target wasn't destroyed. It just becomes a dead card. But then that's why you tribute it for Uriah. So making it a really nice, 2-for-1, if you will. And obviously it targets a monster with fast less attack. So it's kind of like Graceful Revival or Birthright, but with fast and less attack. But it also has the Call the Haunted benefit of being 2 tributes in 1. And if your monster gains attack, it's not like Heart of Clear Water. So if you bring out Source of the Forgotten and then you have Templars on the field, Source of the Forgotten is going to be 1200 attack, which is more than 1000. But that's still fine. You can still bring out your souls, and you'll still be fine. You'll still be completely fine with this card, because it's just going to have a fast and less attack when you bring it out. But if you gain more attack, it's totally fine. Alright, next up is Pixie Ring. While you control 2 or more face attack monsters, your opponent cannot target your monster with the lowest attack of an attack. So this card, as long as the way this card works is, it's pretty obvious, I feel like, but I feel like there's a few situations where you might want to think about how it works. So say for example, so obviously you need 2 attack monsters, or more, right? If you control, say, Blue Eyes Dragon and Dark Magician, and that's it, and both are an attack, your opponent cannot target Dark Magician. This is without attack modifiers, by the way. So I assume all these monsters have the appropriate attack, if you will. Right, so obviously if you control Blue Eyes and Dark Magician attack, your opponent cannot target Dark Magician, right? If you control 2 copies of Dark Magician and a Blue Eyes Dragon, your opponent cannot target either of the Dark Magicians. They can only target the Blue Eyes. If you control 2 Dark Magicians, and that's it, your opponent just cannot attack, because you have 2 or more types of monsters, and they both have the lowest attack. If you control 3 Dark Magicians, one of which is in defense mode, and the other 2 are in attack mode, and again, no attack modifiers, they still can't attack, because they all have the same attack. They can't attack any monster that has the lowest attack, regardless of position. It's just that you have to have 2 or more type C monsters for this effect to be active. So the effect is, your opponent cannot target a monster you control for an attack, as long as that monster has the lowest attack on your side of the field. But in order for it to be active, you have to have 2 or more type C monsters. The attack of those two or more monsters does not matter. So, in regards to activating the effect, if you will. So I just thought I'd point that out as well, because I feel like, not that I think anyone doesn't understand the effect, just a cool little tip I thought I'd bring out about the card. Alright, and last card, Soul Resurrection. Activate this card by targeting one normal monster in your graveyard, like, special summon it in defense position. When this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. When that monster is destroyed, destroy this card. So again, it's basically Graceful Revival, I think it was, or the other one, I can't remember. It's basically I can have a look actually. It's basically like, let me have a look. I can't. Birthright. That's it. It's basically Birthright, but better. It's basically Birthright, but in defense position and with the Call of the Haunted effect. So, it's really nice, and obviously it supports Source of Forgotten, and it also, the fact that it says defense mode obviously means, you've got to be careful with it a little bit, but you've got to think about the fact that it's in defense mode and whatnot, but it's still something. It's still pretty nice, So yeah, that's it. This is really this is my second Armityle, well, not my second Armityle deck. I'd say all 3 are pretty much equal. This is just the second one I feel like doing, But I feel like this is a good one to start off with, even if I did record the wrong deck earlier. But hey, at least it's another video I can release later. At least I don't have to worry about recording it now. Except I might have to update it eventually, but that's neither here nor there for now. I'll worry about that later. So I don't think there's really anything else I need to say. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think so, to be honest. No, I don't think so, to be honest. So yeah, that's really it for now. So thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Alright, have a minky day.